Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The manhwa starts off with window curtains blowing in the wind, and a man sitting up in bed. He quickly jumps out, asking if he's in the game he's been playing. We jump forward, he says it's been 3 years since he's possessed a game character, but gives us a quick recap. The game is the heroic legend of Arhan. It's about dangerous events that went on in an academy. But due to the seemingly endless amount of incidents, even things such as the end of the world were brought up. But it's okay since the main character is going to take care of everything. Since he's just an NPC named Karan Lok, he's in the village where the beginner quests are. He decides to go find the main character, Park Sihu. While he's trying to find the starting point, he sees a dripped out man saying he wants Sprite. Karan says there isn't Sprite in this world, and the dripped out dude starts as General I'll live this life blah blah, but Karan says he's also not from this world. It jumps to Sihu killing a dragon, and Karan says that the difference between them is that Sihu has the privilege of a stat window, but he's never played the game before. But that's no problem, as Karan can guide him towards optimization. He knows all of the routes and the story perfectly, since he's played so much. It'll be a big advantage to have him held. A dog leaps at Karan while he's talking. Sihu sees this, then quickly kills the dog, with some kind of chain magic. Sihu asks if Karan is okay, but Karan quickly takes care of more dogs. Since he knows all of the game's info, and with Sihu having the player window, they were the perfect duo. At least that's what Karan thought. He truly thought they could stop the end of the world together, but that's for in a bit. Sihu hands him an elixir, and Karan asks where he got it. Then, thanks him, and says he's fine for now, but he is a bit disappointed that their main party is a complete sausage fest. The biggest attraction to the game, besides the fantasy genre, and the action, are all of the heroines and the game's dating simulator features. But Sihu didn't get involved with women, and only used them when necessary. So there is only men in the party. Karan asks why they are all sweaty guys. This is when he should have realized sooner. The Sword Emperor's granddaughter died on the way to the entrance ceremony. The final boss of the first stage, Mariette, went missing. Just all over the original storyline, the women were dying from unknown reasons. But more importantly, the way Sihu thought, his true personality, Karan should have doubted him just a little bit. It jumps to later, and he's surprised by something. Then explains how Mariette Dunalev is one of the game's heroines, but they weren't able to meet her since she went missing. But he found her staff. He says he followed Sihu since he kept sneaking out at night. And he found an underground chamber full of items, like an inventory. He started finding the missing heroine's items one by one, then he found something worse. We see chains and feet, and a woman inside of a tube. It's none other than Mariette Dunalev. Sihu then appears, sighing, saying shit. He asks Karan why he's here, but Karan instead asks what the hell all of this is. Sihu says she's a demon, and asks if he'd want to waste elder class vampire blood, and that he's been using it efficiently. Then tells him he's drank a lot too. Karan recalls the elixirs he's been drinking, and starts to feel sick. Sihu asks what the problem is, saying he worked hard to capture her, and he had to kidnap her for a whole month. Karan starts to get angry, asking why he did this. Sihu says he did it to efficiently progress with the story, and the route Karan was taking was irritating, always wanting to save people. Using people like this is better. Then he says he's also just better at the game than Karan was. Karan starts to realize he's been played with, then asks him how many people he's killed. Sihu says he's not too sure, then checks saying 3 more and he'll be at 100,000. Karan gets pissed, calling him a monster. Sihu says they are all NPCs, and that Karan's killed too. Karan says he's only killed evil bastards. He grits his teeth, saying if he's obsessed with efficiency then why did he take the Odachi, asking why a mage would take a melee class weapon. And asks why he didn't just use regular elixirs, he can easily get them. So why bother setting up a farm like this? Sihu starts to laugh, and goes to say something, but Karan says he just needed a sandbag for his sociopathic tendencies. Sihu grabs the back of Karan's head, then throws him into the glass, causing him to start bleeding from his head. Sihu says he's driving him insane, after all he's done for him. He shouldn't talk to him like that, all he does is think about Karan. He should be Karan's world, all he did was lecherously stare at women, even though he was beside him. He refuses to hold back anymore. Karan wonders what the hell he is talking about. Then starts to crawl away, breaking the fourth wall. He was fine for the previous 199 chapters, so why is he acting like a yandere now? Why change the genre? Sihu says it's all for their future. Karin says the reason it was only men in the party was intentional then. Sihu says yes, but they are just for looking, so don't mind them. The only one he truly loves after all is Karin. Karin screams, and punches him with the heterosexual right. He starts to run away saying he's never even had a girlfriend. Sihu's magic begins to head towards Karin's feet, wrapping around them. He starts to tie Karin up into, well, we all know the pose. Karin screams this isn't how this should be going. Sihu says he won't let him run, he will trap him here, forever. Because he is mine, in this fake world only Karin is real. Karin says he's lost his damn mind. Sihu says everything will be over soon. Once he finishes this final fight, they'll be together forever. He goes into a portal, and Karin realizes he's in a dimension that Sihu created. A window appears, saying the final stage has started. Karin sighs, saying Sihu's always killed things on his own. He's sure the final boss won't be a problem either. But that's a problem, he wonders what fate awaits him. But a window appears, saying a player has died, challenge failed. Karin is speechless, he wonders how the hell he lost. It jumps back to the original window curtain, and Karin panting in bed, he sits up and looks outside. Saying he's regressed, to the first day he came here. He clenches his fist, and cries, saying he has to kill him. He will have to kill Sihu, the only player in the world. Karin starts to explain how in the Rodian River flooding incident, a dam broke, sweeping an entire village with it, during a monster subjugation. Thousands of water monsters and people drowned, and at such a scene, Sihu was smiling and laughing. Karin couldn't understand why he was smiling so much, but Sihu only saw it as experience. Karin needs to stop him now before he gets strong, right now he's a rank 5 just like him. All of the factors that strengthen players are centered at Merkaba Academy, and after he left the academy he got hella strong. But right now he isn't a monster, but there's no telling how strong he'll get after entering the academy. While running through the forest, Karin grabs some shrooms, not the trippy kind, and says his only chance to kill Sihu is right now. We see the tutorial quest is to protect people in the carriage, with the security detail. We see 2 members of that detail, and they are saying Sihu is quite skilled. He laughs, thanking them. The carriage driver then tells the guards that it's all fixed. They both start heading back, then hear a gut-wrenching scream. They turn around to see a log being hurled at them. Leon pushes Laura out of the way, and they both narrowly avoid it. Then draw their swords, as the monster in front of them is a rank 2 monster, a werewolf. It lets out another roar. Karin pants asking if it's already started. He says he ran as fast as he could, and wishes he had more time to prepare. Since then he could have saved them. But Laura gets smacked, and instantly plops to the floor. Leon tells Sihu to quickly get on the carriage, but Sihu tells them to go as they'll catch up. A girl leans out, telling him to get on the carriage. But Sihu says he can't abandon Leon. But we see it's too late for him, and Sihu is now standing in front of the werewolf. He has his sword ready, and Karin says he needs to confirm before intervening, whether this is the real Sihu, or if he's the possessed one again. Sihu looks scared, but locks in saying the werewolf is huge. It growls at him, and the girl from before tells him to get down. She attacks the werewolf, but he blocks it. She's surprised it stopped it, then jumps back towards Sihu to create distance. She tells him to step back, and she'll handle it. Karin recognizes her as the second daughter of the Arden family, and the one who possesses the Odachi. Her name is Alicia Arden. Sihu says he was scared, while Karin explains there's an Easter egg where she can die here in the tutorial. He slashes at her, hitting her, and Karin watches. Realizing it's the same Sihu he knows, Alicia asks why he's doing this. Then starts to feel dizzy, but Sihu says he was nervous and slipped. The werewolf roars, and charges at her. She sees this, and does her best to fend off its attacks. Karin says he must want the sword since then he can join Lunia Arden's party. Sihu watches, and sees that she's still fighting well for being poisoned, and she even manages to create distance again. She tries to get herself to calm down, and begins to focus on her technique. She locks in and begins to activate her skill. Her sword begins to glow as the beast gets closer. Sihu realizes she'll kill the werewolf at this rate, but says he can't let that happen. He throws the poison dagger towards her, but she deflects it, canceling her skill. She says it wasn't a mistake after all, but the werewolf takes the chance to go in for the kill. She manages to stab her sword into it. But it's too late, as the beast sinks its fangs into her side. She pants while the dead beast sits atop her, and begins to cry asking Sihu why he did this. He picks her sword up and smiles. He says he'll figure out the special skill later for it, but then realizes killing Alicia will bring him a lot of experience. He sees her already bloody on the ground, and from her perspective all she sees is a demon. But then a bag of powder flies in, hitting him in the face. It makes him begin to cough, and we see his face is covered in it. He asks what it is, and starts yelling saying to come out already. Then horned rats begin to charge. Karin explains how the mushrooms he gathered earlier is the favorite food of the forest monsters, and the powder that coats them is not all over Sihu. So the mobs are going to think he's tasty. Sihu fights back the horned rats, and while he's distracted Karin grabs Alicia, saying he's glad she's alive. He spots a dagger in its mouth, then pulls it out. Sihu curses at him, then asks who the hell he is, while standing behind him. Karin grabs a handful of dirt, saying it must be great to have the Odachi. Sihu recognizes him as Karin Locke. Sihu asks why he's here. Karin wonders if he doesn't have his memories, but smiles saying that's good. He says that he'll cut his hand off holding the sword that way. Sihu looks down, and Karin takes the chance to throw the dirt straight into his face. Sihu starts to cover his eyes, then swings blindly in pure panic. Karin says that Sihu is quick with the sword, but he's definitely clumsy. Karin dodges saying he'll have to push himself, since Sihu is stronger. He slashes at Sihu's throat, but misses. They start some close quarters trades, and he tries to get Sihu to focus on his weapon, and as soon as he gets focused he takes the chance, stabbing Sihu in the shoulder with the poison dagger. Sihu screams, he starts to tear up from the pain. Karin raises his other weapon and brings it straight down to Sihu, but he blocks it with his hand. Karin quickly pushes with his other hand, and it goes straight into Sihu's throat. He thanks Sihu for his past life, saying he'll get stronger thanks to him. But he's got no regrets about this. He pulls the bloody weapon out, saying that he killed the seed of a monster. Then an error appears saying that the player is dead. It begins to calculate the odds of clearing the main scenario. It begins to scan Karin as a backup, seeing his potential and compatibility. Then passes Sihu's experience down to Karin. He begins to be turned into a sub-player. Karin wonders if that means he'll get a stat window. He hears coughing, and turns around to see Alicia huffing and she's running a fever. Karin quickly goes over, asking if she's okay. She says she's not, and that she can't see. He tells her it's good she can speak. He says that she's dizzy and can't smell right. She asks how he knows. Karin recognizes it as the peacock tree frog's poison. Karin says within the tutorial this was hard to create, but if it was a better combination then she'd have died immediately. He says it's a relief that she won't die from the poison, but with the fang stuck in her body she is in danger. He wraps a belt around her to stop the bleeding. He says if she bites her tongue that'll be a problem. He says she needs something to bite. He sees Sihu's arm, and tells her to bite onto it. He says it's going to hurt a lot, so bite as hard as she can. He says he's not sure why he returned back, but now he's killed the player. And the person who died in his past life is alive. She screams from the pain of him removing the fang, and he looks at her saying he saved her, so that's enough. It jumps to later. He's cooking something. He tells her he's making antidotes, so hang in there. She calls out to him, asking for his name. He tells her she doesn't need to know, and to stop thinking too much and rest up. Once she's awake the antidote will be done. It's better for him to keep himself hidden like this. He starts to plan out the situation, and says that the heroic legend of Arhin is the story about the hero, while solving the incidents and accidents that occur in Merkaba. The player becomes a hero, saving the world. The only reason that the devil like Sihu went along with the story, was because if the final boss wasn't defeated the world would be destroyed. But with the player being dead now, who will fulfill that role? He has no choice but to be the one to do it. He gets annoyed, saying they should at least do it properly. As he doesn't have permission to view his stats or anything, he sighs saying he's a player and cannot use the convenient system at all. It's too hard for him to become the hero without the system, so he's got to use something else. He says that he trained to his limits for 3 years, he's no longer a normal possessor or even an extra. He starts to draw a rune on the floor, it creates a wind shockwave, and he says that as he thought it works. He says this is the only magic he learned in his past life, which are ancient letters that have magical powers. Duty, restraint, oath. These are known as the 3 commandments. These are some of the most powerful laws of this world, which are the source of superhuman strength, and the cause of destruction. He says he'll inscribe all 3 of them onto himself. He starts to draw the first one onto his arm. It is duty. The commandment grants the caster extra powers when honoring a self-imposed oath. But since they are easy to adhere to, you barely earn stats from them. But he'll need to make promises he'll have to follow until the end. He says he shall not turn a blind eye to the misfortunes of the good people. A chain wraps around his heart, and a window says his stats will increase when he sticks to his oath, and failure to do so is a penalty of 10. The second one is restraint. He puts it onto his other arm, and it's that he doesn't perceive spirits. Karin explains how there's tons of spiritual things in the world, and ghosts and spirits exist too. Since astral beings only get involved with mutual recognition, they cannot use their power on people that are unconscious or lack spiritual feeling. Upon breaking this, he'll receive 600% damage. He says the penalty of astral beings not being able to meddle with him has become a protective shield that guards him from all astral beings. And the final commandment, oath. It carries a great risk, which is why neither he nor Sihu used it in his past life. But even Sihu, who had the system, died in the end, so there's no need to worry. The oath with the most weight is none other than him saving the world. The greater the oath, the more power he receives. Now the commandments are complete, they begin to apply to him, and if he fails to comply with them, he will die. It jumps to Alicia waking up, and she's in a bed. A nurse approaches asking how she's doing. Alicia asks where she is, and the nurse says she's in the Merkaba emergency hospital. Alicia asks where the person who brought her is. The nurse says they just left. Alicia looks around, and sees a bag with her stuff, and Karin's belt. She sees there's still blood on it. She calls to the nurse, then asks if there's anywhere that sells honey bomb candy. The nurse says she can only eat stew. And now it's time for the entrance ceremony. Karin is looking for his student ID, then finds a letter. He reads it, and it's his mother saying how proud of him they are, and they hope he becomes a wonderful man, protecting those around him. He sighs, asking when she put this in here. He says Karin was a normal and competent child, but even he has a family. When he first possessed the body, he acted awkward and unfamiliar with them all. But they treated him like normal regardless, and that's how he grew to love his family and this world. That is the difference between himself and Sihu. We see a lot of train carriages, and students gathering around. Then we see a girl with a basket of potatoes. She looks familiar. She sees Karin saying he sure is tall, then asks if he wants a potato. Then it jumps to them inside a train carriage, and she's giving them all a tour. This is none other than Mariette Dunelef. She's a first-class, second-year academy mage, who everyone treats well. But everyone experiences misfortunes at some point. She is no exception, as she falls into the depths of despair, becoming the first act's final boss. They reach their stop, and she tells them all to take a potato each when they get off. She waves bye to them all, and now Karin is inside the Merkaba Academy. He says the space expansion magic is starting, and they are all isolated off now. Then a loud voice says don't be flustered, and to remain calm. Karin says that's old man Hamon's voice, and he talks like a boot camp instructor. The world's history is full of battles against evil. The most effective weapons were superhumans with the ability to use aura and mana. And the place that develops those superhumans is none other than Merkaba. We hear another man speaking, saying hello. He introduces himself as Fermac Damon, and he's in charge of their welcome ceremony. Karin smirks, saying he hasn't seen him in a while. Fermac says they must all be here to either become a knight or a mage. And they must have all received a certificate. They shouldn't let it get to their heads. So this will be a test for their abilities. They all look at a window, and we can see that Karin's ranks are piss low. He says this is straight appalling. Fermac says what they are all seeing is their overall rank. So stand in front of the number that matches your rank, 1 being highest, 6 being lowest. He stands in front of it, saying he's in the bottom 1%. Fermac smiles, saying he wishes them all luck in battle. They all are then teleported. We hear someone say there's a lot of diamonds in the rough, and a glasses girl with big, ahem. Professor quickly says no need to assess the rank 1 and 2 students. Rank 2 has Alicia, a druid named Yule, a mercenary Drawn Warski, a golem sorcerer named Cranal Ludin, and there's a single rank 1. The heavenly Yuksha, Horan. The professor says to let her enroll is strange, wondering what the director is thinking. Another professor says there might be no point in testing the 6th ranks, when the 5th ranks are bad. She says the director said to test all students, asking if he plans to go against his wishes. The man quickly snaps his fingers, and a weapons case lands in front of the students. Karin is then told in 30 seconds, monsters will swarm. He says it's as unfriendly as ever. As the timer goes down, he rummages through the case, saying most students wouldn't be able to pick and just panic grab something, which is most likely a sword. He did that in his past life too. We see dogs are spawned in, and they are 5th rank most called short hounds. Karin says people say it takes 100 days to use a spear, 1,000 for a blade, and 10,000 for a sword. As soon as the timer hits 1, he exhales and throws a spear at the hound, saying the best answer is to choose a spear. A wolf instantly dies. Karin says he's sorry, and the other hounds begin to run at him but die. He says he's too experienced dealing with them. It jumps to later. He said it took 12 seconds. In his past life he couldn't kill the hounds and got eliminated. Now it's different, he'll kill them all until the next rank. But after waiting for 5 minutes, nothing appears. He wonders if it's broken. We see the professor watching everyone's tests, and most of the 5th and 6th ranks are struggling. He says he could kill 5th rank monsters in a minute. He says there's probably no point in looking at the 6th ranks, but spots Karin sitting there yawning. He wonders if the monsters didn't get summoned, so quickly spawns more, saying it's a bug. Karin wonders why they are back. The professor walks away again, calling everyone pathetic, while Karin one-shots them all again. The professor says it's the first passer, and that it only took them 7 minutes and 20 seconds. He says the 3rd ranks just need 2 to 3 minutes, saying the 5th and 6th ranks are ass. But he sees Karin yawning again, and wonders if it's broken. Another man says that Madame Josephine's test magic hasn't made a mistake in 20 years. The professor says it's obvious they aren't being summoned. The man asks if he saw the monsters not being summoned. The professor says no, and the other man barks at him, saying to do it again. Karin sees the hounds respawn, and uses 3 spears, throwing them at the hounds, one-shotting all 3 of them in 7.3 seconds. The professors are dumbfounded, and tell Fermac to check it out. He asks what's going on, and they ask what the fastest 3rd and 4th rank clear is. Fermac says a kid named Jaeger got 3 minutes and 30 seconds, asking why. The professor says it's nothing much, and determines Karin to be a hunter of sorts. So he summons a 4th rank mat boar. It instantly dies in 3.7 seconds. So he moves up to an owl bear, but luckily it doesn't have fall damage to rely on. Karin avoids its swing and stabs it in the chest. The owl bear goes for another attack, and Karin dodges it, using a rune called Kenas, lighting the owl bear ablaze. The professor screams, saying rune magic, and Fermac is quite interested. The owl bear is on fire, but not dead, and Karin says it doesn't seem to be having much effect. But he leaps forward, saying it blocked its vision, so that's good enough. He stabs it in the head, and one of the men realize he isn't a 6th rank, and it's a shame the monster test only goes up to the 3rd rank. He says he was excited to see him with evil spirits, so they summon a 5th rank evil spirit. Karin says something was definitely summoned, but he can't hear or see it since it's a spirit. He says it must be as he expected. He begins to count, and once he reaches a minute he smiles, saying he's confirmed what he needed to. The raises his spear, saying he'd like to give up. For the evil spirit tests he was disqualified, but he set records on the monster tests. He tells the professor good work, and the professor wonders who he is. The students all talk amongst themselves, and they start talking about their ranks. We see Jaeger, who was mentioned earlier, is proud. Karin recognizes him as the kid that picked a fight with Sihu in his past life. But Sihu killed him because he got pissed off. He says that Jaeger may be a bit of a delinquent, but it's common at his age. Some other students mock the 5th ranks, saying they lost to short hounds. We see a student named Lark, who couldn't get over his inferiority complex, and he died by Sihu too. A man clears his throat, then introduces himself as the director Eryu Kasar. He says they've all come here to become stronger, and while some are strong, others have a lot to go. He can't guarantee they'll get what they want, but hopefully they find their own paths here. They are just here to help with the first step. From the second step onward, that's up to the students. That is all, so have a good day. We see some students leaving. While Jaeger is talking, he spots Lark sitting in a corner. Then goes over asking what rank he is. Lark tells him, and Jaeger calls him pathetic for not killing a 5th rank. Karin sees this, and gets close. Jaeger asks who he is, and Karin starts commenting on his tattoos, saying his artist must be talented, saying that it even has a blood type, so he's quite prepared. Jaeger gets happy, saying he knows his stuff, and his mom did it. She specialized in line work, but she did it in the old school style. Karin says that's awesome, and asks to see the other tattoos. Karin says he knows all of this, since in his past life when Jaeger went missing, his mother came here saying his tattoos weren't just for show. But she did it out of worry for her son. Jaeger shows a chariot, saying it represents Merkaba. Karin introduces himself, and so does Jaeger. Then Karin gets Lark to introduce himself too. They all start laughing and having a good time, while Alicia spots them. She says to save someone being bullied like that is awesome. She doesn't recognize him since she couldn't see from the poison, but says he's a good guy. Karin says this is how he left a good impression on Lark, and that his ability is to memorize. Karin smiles, saying he found his free skill book. Alicia says his smile is pretty too, pretty evil I say. Karin explains that most of Merkaba Academy facilities are provided free, student cafeterias are also cheaper than outside, and the dorms are free. The most useful facility is none other than the training rooms. The reason for that is hella simple, since by using the training room even impossible training became possible. For example, fighting with spirit bodies that were invisible to him. Some students see this, and say that usually people practice with spirit bodies in their second semester, and even many second semester students can't beat wind-type spirit bodies. Karin gets smacked, and they laugh saying that's what he gets. Karin asks if it's too much for him. An instructor says it's rare to see a freshman here, and asks Karin why he's fighting spirit bodies. Karin says to train his spear skills. The instructor asks if he's confident, and Karin says he'll do it. He wonders why the instructor is here, asking if something went wrong during the entrance exam. The instructor looks at him, then starts laughing saying that's the spirit, then hands him 10 meal tickets. Then says to find him when he succeeds. Karin sighs, saying he was nervous for no reason, but this is a good sign. He decides to start again, and Mariette is staring at him. She watches as he fights off a flying spirit, it evades a bit of his attacks then headbutts him in the side. He falls to the floor, and sighs while looking gassed out. A towel is dropped onto his head, and Mariette asks if it's hard, and has an empty glass. He says he's exhausted. She summons water into the glass, saying he's worked hard. And if he keeps trying he'll beat it one day, and to try again next time. He thinks to himself he has no next time. Before they had Sihu who had the player stat window, as well as everything from the combination window. But Sihu is gone now, so Karin has to do it all himself. Karin thanks her, saying he doesn't plan to give up. He stands back up, saying he must be the strongest. His first plan is to figure out his limits. It may be excessive, but he must limit test, to see how well he can use his abilities from his past life. He uses a skill called Ominous Serpent Stab, followed by Tiger Wind Swing, and a whole bunch of other abilities that I'll name when he uses them again. He says he had neither a strong body or vast magic power or aura. Information about Sihu in the future was useless in the face of monsters and geniuses. However, to stand side by side with them all, he had to work harder than anyone else. His past 3 years will not betray him when it comes to his spearmanship. He uses a skill called Deep Righteousness. Dashing forward he throws his spear. Mariette wonders if he's giving up after all, but he quickly catches the spear, causing her to realize he shot it, so he could catch it again. He leaps above the flying spirit body, and pierces it using another skill called Slithering Serpent, Calamity Serpent Intent. These names are crazy. We see a massive blue puff of smoke appear, and Mariette says that cliché words such as strong or outstanding don't suit him. Words that could only be summarized as honest appreciation lingered on her tongue. She was mesmerized by what she witnessed, saying that he looks hella awesome while in the air. But he instantly falls to the floor, after this. She asks if he's okay, but he's suffering from complete muscle soreness. Even his spear broke from the attack. The next day we see Mariette telling the students she'll introduce them to the school facilities. Karin is munching, saying he needs to eat to fight properly. Without relying on Sihu's elixirs he has to rely on his commandments, and he doesn't plan to turn a blind eye to Lark's misfortunes. He asks if he wants to go eat with him, and to talk about grimoires. Grimoires are skill books, and that let you get magic or traits just from reading them. Merkaba library is hella big, and passes humanity's knowledge to future generations. But that's all bullshit. Its main purpose is to hide the grimoires. He tells Lark it's like hiding a tree in a forest. Lark says as long as he keeps his promise. Karin says of course, explaining that Lark is a model student. He memorized all sorts of magic and stored them in his spell book. It doesn't matter how many spells he has, using them all would be difficult. If a magician's level and mana level are low, they cannot produce good results. But with a grimoire it's a different story. Karin throws a book down. Lark tells him to stop playing, but the bookshelf slides, opening a secret path. Lark asks how he found it. Karin ignores him saying to follow him in. While they walk in, Lark says it's spooky in here. Karin says it's time to keep his promise. They shake hands and Lark says he wants him to repel spirits right. Lark asks what he needs to do, but is met with a quick right. Karan says it's time to get started while smiling evilly. He says he came here to help Lark, but he's here to complete a special quest too. If he captures the evil spirits here, he can earn the hidden piece he wants. But there is a problem with that. We see a red spirit named Sabancia Duke. Karan says this quest was impossible to complete. How is he meant to catch a special evil spirit, when he can't catch a normal one? The Duke prepares purple magic and launches them. Karan says most players die from the magic, but of course he can't. Since he cannot be hit, as he doesn't perceive spirits. The Duke's attacks cannot actually hurt him, but there's a problem since he can't see him either. He tells the Duke he's sorry, but he can't see him. Asking if he can just possess Lark's body. Karan says in this world there are factors, this is an element that changes normal humans into demi-humans like vampires or werewolves. One day the Duke awakened as a vampire and killed his servant. Although he worked to restrain his vampire instincts, he failed. And in the end, out of fear of killing his wife and daughter, he evacuated his family and closed the castle. In order to avoid carnage, he used magic to seal himself in a book, which is the grimoire inside this library. Duke hops into Lark's body, and screams while jumping at Karan. Karan asks if he's gone crazy. He says the reason he chose Lark, is because after being possessed by the Duke, the person's physical powers are taken to their max, but Lark is the weakest person in the entirety of the academy, and gets instantly beaten. Karan says he's sorry for Lark, but this is the best choice he has. If he kills Lark now he'll get the highest grade items, like the Duke's cape and armor. Those are items that Sihu used up until the very end. But Karan is different. He asks the Duke if he is curious about his wife and daughter, and what kind of lives they've lived after he was sealed. He told the Duke countless stories, about how his wife died and what an amazing adventurer his daughter became. Along with how she traveled the world, he didn't like how Sihu handled it, so he did it as someone who also loves his family. The Duke begins to cry in Lark's body, then apologizes for charging him earlier. Karan says it's no problem since Lark is weak. Before the Duke ascended they shared a conversation. He obtained some soul dust, and grimoires. One gives regeneration, which is the one that he used. It's a skill Sihu abused, but Karan doesn't know how good it is exactly. Lark wakes up, and Karan tells him what happened. Lark asks if his chin is meant to hurt when a spirit possesses. Karan quickly tells him to shut up, handing him a grimoire. The final reason he chose Lark, is because he wanted to see how sometimes the ones who work hard are rewarded. Due to helping Lark he obtains 80 points. He's surprised, saying you gain 5 stats from leveling once, and this is the equivalent of 16 level ups. He says he didn't get a level notification, which makes him wonder if it's compensating that he cannot gain direct stats. We see the points he's obtained from following along with his oaths. Inside the training room, Mariette is asking who wants potatoes. She starts handing them out to everyone. She spots Karan and approaches him asking if he's going to fight spirit bodies today too. He says yes. She says she believes he can do it and that she'll cheer him on. The other students start to ask her how he could beat a spirit body. They watched him fail yesterday. Mariette says she doesn't think so, and offers a bet of 2 gold coins that he'll succeed. Karan wonders why they are betting, but says whatever, he just needs to focus. He has the stats he earned from helping the Duke ascend, so he can catch it easily. He decides to use the weakest skills first. He uses Ominous Serpent. He says the technique he used before to beat the spirit body was a slithering serpent. It's a difficult technique among the Calamity Serpent intense, so using the weakest one will probably make, but he gets interrupted by the spirit body being one shit. Everyone is surprised, so is he. He says that he's gotten hella strong. Mariette said yesterday it took 3 attacks, but this time it only took 1. He wonders why she's paying so much attention to him, then finds it odd she can track his moves, saying her eyesight is nuts. She hands him a pouch saying it's his share. Thanks to him she earned a bit of gold, so this is his share. She asks if he doesn't want it. He says of course not, who dislikes money. They both start laughing, and he hopes Mariette keeps her hustle up. That night while he eats, he says that he trained his ass off to polish his martial arts. Even now he can barely do up to the 5th step of the 6 total steps of enlightenment. He has a long way to go, but he's not worried. His problem right now is rune magic. His mana pool is really short. He couldn't fix this issue in his past life either, since rune magic takes an incredible amount of mana. If he fixes this, he'll be much stronger than his past life. He hears a woman call out to him. He recognizes her voice. He says no matter how strong he gets, there will be someone he can never beat here, The only female Sihu couldn't beat either. One of the strongest forces in the game. It's none other than Hworin, a Jinshi. He wonders why she's just sitting here, and speaking to him too for that matter. She says that he's been combined, rather she doesn't think he's the owner of his body. He begins to feel cold sweats, wondering if she knows he's possessed the body. If you've watched till the end, comment, hamster, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.